Hello, everybody. I hope everything's going okay on the stream. Out, let's have some fun together. Welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time visiting, well, hello there. Thank you so much for stopping by. I certainly appreciate you spending your very valuable time at my tiny little corner of the internet. It means an awful lot to me. Subscribe if you can. Don't forget to ding my little bell for notifications because I do often upload pretty randomly sometimes and also regularly. If you're wondering why there's an L plate in the background, it is because I am a learner streamer and it's not coming off till I reach 500 subs, and we are getting over 400, so we're on track to meet the goal, which is to get 500 by my birthday, which is in October. So g'day everyone. G'day Stickman, Keely, Ladies Auxiliary here as always. I don't know what I'd do without you. Lambo, good morning. Good morning, Lightfoot. Hi, Stephen Webb. How are you? So, welcome to all my new subs. Don't be shy. Jump in the chat if you can. I understand it's probably a weird time, so maybe you can't make the live streams, but jump into the comments. I always like to hear from you. It's always nice to hear who you are, and that's really what I want to know is I want to get to know you guys. So, that's okay, Lightfoot. I was wondering what was going on. It sounded a bit like you might have been talking about something in your own life. I always worry about you guys, because, life happens, and let's not pretend everything's always sunny. Yeah, exactly, Stickman. It's growing. We're getting there. I have only really just started regularly uploading, so I imagine it'll take some time. Today, I wanted to talk about things we take for granted nowadays. And there's a lot of them, and some of them might not be so obvious and others might be. And also, history wasn't that long ago, and it's worth remembering that we are the future history. So one day we'll be history. So what sort of legacy are we leaving? How will future history look at us and our generation? I wonder. I don't know. I'm not even sure if it'll be good. We may be seen as, maybe a little bit ungrateful, really. I think that sometimes. And I know I'm just another grumpy grandma telling people that they're ungrateful, but I fall into this category too. I forget sometimes, we forget how fortunate we are. You're cold, Carpy. You can't talk about being cold. I'm cold where I am, okay? I'm nice and warm in here, but it's cold out there. I was hoping to get out my garden this morning. I've got some celery to plant that I just grew from kitchen scraps. And I'm not sure. At least it's not so foggy today. I live in this valley, and sometimes we get a fog and it doesn't lift until sometimes 1 or 2 in the afternoon. So it's lovely living in an alpine area. It's beautiful when all the mountains and hills around me have snow on. But I tell you what, it makes it difficult in the mornings to do my chores. Good morning, Nicole L. It's always nice to see you. And Nicole King. Both the Nicoles here. Twin boys, brother of Raoul, October baby. All right, good guy. Lambo. I hope you're doing well, Nicole King. Yeah, I'm doing okay. I have some appointments this week and I wasn't going to stream today, and then I thought, you know what, I can stream today. I don't have any appointments today. So I may even be streaming later on, do some gaming or something, because I always get anxious before appointments. It might be my agoraphobia. It might just be because I haven't actually had a therapy appointment for a long time. My regular therapist was on maternity leave. So it could be that. I don't know. So I thought, yeah, I know. What am I doing being live? And I thought, you know what? I can do a live today, because also I'll be probably gone for most of next week as well. So I thought I'll do lives when I can. And that way, because I actually really like talking to you guys. It actually can ease my anxiety a little bit. So I'm just, that's why I'm enjoying being here. Now, my number one thing on my list of, I was actually thinking about my grandmothers and my great-grandmothers when I was thinking about this list. So I'll put up a picture. This is my great-grandmother and all her children. You can't see a couple of them because they're hidden by me. one of the things I think we take for granted is contraception and things like that too, as well. Now, my nana is actually the blonde girl in the background with a big, like chocolate box bow in her hair. And you can see her there, blonde. And this photograph was taken shortly after my great-grandfather died. Now, this wasn't that long ago. Now, you can see by the way that they're dressed that they are in like the big dresses of, like, say, the Edwardian period. They've got, the sailors' outfits on, the little boys and that. And you might think, wow, that's a long time ago. No, it's not. I met these people. The tallest girl there is my Auntie Jean. I remember these people. It wasn't that long ago. And I think communication with our loved ones is something we very much take for granted. And I know we complain a lot about it with the lockdowns and things like that. But think of the times of when they were opening up the West, or when free settlers came to Australia. When you said goodbye to your family, wherever you were leaving from, it was possibly goodbye forever, no more communication with them. Like, letters would take years to arrive at their destination, if it was at all possible, So, I mean, it's like we take communicating with our loved ones for granted, for sure. You think of those folks who headed out in America in the covered wagons and things like that. They were never going to see or hear from their families ever again. And they loved their families probably maybe even more than we do nowadays. Family was very, very important back then. And we can just jump on the phone, or we can send a text, or we can Zoom with them, or we can look at their Facebooks and talk to them. So I think we take it for granted that we might feel like, my sister is in WA and I can feel like I'm a long way away from her. But then I remember my nana, and they lived in the goldfields in Western Australia. She was born there. And that's a long way away from everywhere, when your only travel is relying on horses, maybe trains, but still, communication wasn't instant like it is now, and I think we take it really for granted. No, it's a bit later than normal, Lightfoot. Normally I do 9:30, but today it's school holidays, so I've still got one son who's still at school. He's my youngest one. G'day, Daz. Yeah, it's great. I have lots of great old photos of my family because my family history is pretty well orally handed down. And like I said, I knew these people. This isn't that much of an old photo. This is my nana. Think of if you've got children, odds are one day they're going to have children. Then you're the nana. And are your photos going to look this ancient? Yeah, they are. One day. It's amazing. It blows my mind to think that my nana was alive in the days of swishing crinoline and things like that. But it's true. It's not that long ago. These were people who our generations, in the Venn diagram of generations, crossed over. I met one of my great-grandmothers. So it's not that long ago. They're Sunday best. Yes, exactly. And they had this photo taken to, I believe it was to make them feel better after there's a special photograph of my nana with her mum. And it was after her dad had died of the Spanish flu, which ripped through the goldfields. Now, when he got the Spanish flu, he was just taken away. They never saw him again. They never saw his body. They weren't given it for burial. They never got to say goodbye. And my nana in particular was very upset about it. And so to cheer her up, her mother splurged out probably her last few dollars to get these special photographs taken. And we have to also remember that this woman, when her husband died, I think she had 8 children, there was no widow's pension. There was no welfare to speak of unless you went to the Salvation Army or something. Women didn't generally work if their husbands worked. And he was, I think, a minor. So it would have been tough for her, even just keeping a household going with 8 children back in them days. No disposable nappies. Everything had to be, no mod cons, which we'll get onto next. But my Auntie Jean, who is the tallest lady there, she was my great Aunt Jean, and my Nana ended up having to go out to work to support the family. Now, my Auntie Jean became a school teacher when she was a teenager, and my Nana was actually a cook in a Kalgoorlie pub when she was about 12 or 13. So she was a great cook, by the way. I learnt a lot of her recipes before she left. So it's just also a reminder to talk to your old people. Ask them about their old people, their grandmothers, if they met their great-grandmothers. You might be surprised how, like, days go slow, sometimes hours go slow, and if you're waiting for something, sometimes minutes go slow. But years and generations just actually fly by. If you've ever raised kids, you'll know it's 1 minute you're bouncing them on your knee wishing you could get to sleep, and the next minute they're bouncing their own babies on their knees, and it's like in a blink of an eye. It happens so quickly. Now, let's talk about those mod cons. My Nana used to do her washing in these old coppers, and she was fortunate to have a mangle and it was an electric mangle, so it was quite fancy, very dangerous, but for her laundry, and then you'd feed it through and it would squeeze out all the water. But her mother would have had to do that by hand. It would have been hand mangling and hand washing, really. And it was, like I said, these are people I've met, but I don't even think twice about my washing machine unless it's broken. And then I've got laundromats and things like that I can go to. But this lady with her 8 children was boiling water in great big coppers and washing by hand for all these children, all the nappies, everything. And you couldn't just go out and buy things like boots were handed down. They were so precious. So I think we do take, this was, like I said, in my lifetime, I met these people, and now we just go to Kmart and get some shoes, or we, buy them online, and we might complain about how long it takes to get delivered. But the truth is, we haven't inherited shoes because they're so precious. No refrigerators. They used to have an iceman came along. No flushing toilets. They used to have a man who came along and emptied your Thunderbox. That's just how it was back then. Everything was different. There was, like I said, no communication, no like telephones, things like that. No cars. Imagine just not being able to zip down the supermarket to buy something. These folk sort of relied on their gardens. They relied on their neighbours as well. So I think that maybe as we've grown more independent thanks to technology, we haven't needed our neighbours so much. But what have we lost in doing that? Have we lost like community as in what it used to be? Nicole, I've had so much trouble getting my scripts filled lately, and I went about 3 days forgetting to take my medication, and it wasn't until I started getting brain zaps that I realised, and that's the worst feeling ever. Do not just stop taking medication suddenly, folks. If you want to stop it, go talk to your GP and get off it slowly, because the brain zaps are not just like a headache. It's awful. It's a terrible feeling. Yeah, I was feeling crappy yesterday. Kaz, I think, other than my family, was the only person. Yeah, exactly. This is what I was thinking of, Carl P. And I was thinking, we take so much for granted, and it wasn't that long ago. Like, let me show you something. This is my other great-grandmother. This is my father's grandmother, and her name was Grace Gray, right? And she was a renowned beauty in the area, and she came from quite a good family, but she had to help raise all the younger children in her family, and she actually was notorious for not liking children, so she actually only had two of her own. And she I actually have a few of her possessions, and I really cherish them. And I think there's even some I still use, on special occasions. I use some of her crockery and things like that. And I always think about her touching them. And, I love history anyway, but especially when it's your family. And you think that my great-grandmother, I've met Grace Gray. I met this great-grandmother. Or was it the other one? I can't remember, but there's a photograph of me at about 2 years old with one of my great-grandmothers. But look at her dress. That wasn't that long ago. Our lives intersected. Now, I wanted to talk about luxuries because I love baths. I don't know about you guys. Maybe you prefer showers and that, but I do both. But when I really want to relax, or as part of like my bedtime routine, I will have a bath and I'll put some nice salts or oils in there or something. And I absolutely lay there and I think, wow, I have it better than kings and queens of old. I have, if you think of the ancient times, they didn't have hot running water. There was work had to be done to get that hot water. They didn't get to bathe every day like we do. They didn't, even the oils and salts and that I put in my bath. That's, I'm not rich. I'm not rich at all. I'm happy and poor. But I get to have these luxuries that still today are inaccessible to a lot of the population. We have to remember, even our poorest people in this nation are in like the top 1% of richest people in the world. We have to remember that. We have to be very grateful for everything we have. Oh yeah, they're the worst, Nicole King, and it could take a while to get rid of them. So JP and I we try to keep each other honest about our medication. So we have a little saying, it's not okay to skip a day. You've got to take your medication. Hey, Kaz. And love to your little darling. Yeah, exactly, Carl P. And it wasn't that long ago, was it? History is not that long ago. We can sort of separate it because, like I said, the days go slow and the months go slow. But boy, our lives are really just a little blip in time in the scheme of things. Daz, yeah. Yes, Lauren, I believe the old way of community is getting more and more distant from the new way people live. Most people in cities today don't even know the neighbour's name. Exactly. What have we lost? And maybe we need to find a way to, because I don't want to get rid of the technology. I'm certainly not anti-technology, but I want to make sure we don't rush ahead with technologies and that we actually think about what we're losing and ways to sort of offset that loss. So ways to build our communities and find a way or even a reason or a need for us to communicate with each other, because communities, people's lives would have depended on it in our grandparents' day. Yeah, luxuries like chocolate. Think about that. That's nectar of the gods, and we have it. We can just take it for granted. How often do you think about, how rare chocolate is? Sugar, even if you look back in the Georgian times, that was only reserved for the very richest. And now our very poor people have far too much sugar. Exactly. The fattest poor people in history. Exactly. And how will that be looked at by future, looking back at us, knowing that at the same time there is people in the world who don't have anything, even at some of our nearest neighbours here in Australia. And we just take it for granted. We always want more. Now we want to police words and we want to we're worried about all these little microaggressions instead of just stopping and going, wow, actually our society is really good. We've got it good. We've got a lot. Because safety is actually the next thing that I wanted to talk about. We take for granted like our modern police and fire, and emergency services. I think we take them for granted. And I think also the fact that we talk about what used to be taboo issues like child abuse and SA and things like that, we talk about them now. They didn't used to get talked about. So we actually have safety now that we didn't have before. And I think we have the luxury of having a justice system, and it's not perfect. In fact, there's an awful lot that could be done to fix it, but we have one. And I think we take that for granted too, that we could just call the cops, or we could just call an ambulance, or we could just call fire, and all through one number. That comes back to that communication, being able to move really quickly. Yeah, that's sugar, tobacco, and salt. Exactly. In fact, they used to smoke sugar as well. Remember, pineapples used to be decoration. They were so rare. Only the finest houses would have a pineapple decorated, like kings and queens. And now we can just nip down to Woolies and get a pineapple. And if we're really lazy, we can just already get it cut and skinned for us too. Another thing is free time. Because of all our mod cons, we have an awful lot more free time than what, say, our grandparents and great-grandparents had. They worked to live. Okay, we work, we have rights, which is a good thing. We have unions, which, was a good thing, but they've gone a little bit wayward, if you ask me, at the moment. And we have a lot of free time, and I'm not necessarily sure that's been a good thing for us people, that we don't have to work harder to live. And I don't really want to go back to the days of having to spend 8 hours on one day doing laundry and then another 8 hours drying them. But they say the devil makes work for idle hands, and perhaps that is true in our situation. So I have one more photo I wanted to show you. And this is actually my nana and my grandfather. So this is my grandmother and my grandfather. Now, it can seem like Peaky Blinders time, and that can seem like a long time ago. It wasn't. This grandmother of mine actually bounced my babies on her knee. So it wasn't that long ago. You have to remember that it's, before you know it, young folk, you will be looking from where I'm looking, and you will be holding hopefully, a best grandma in the World Cup. And you'll be a grandma, and there'll be other generations that have sprung forth from you. What is your legacy? We're all going to leave one, just like our grandparents may have not had the free time to stop and think about their legacy. Yeah, unions, exactly, Stickman. I think there was a time, but now they're just, I think they've lost the plot, their original, what they needed. All right, well, that was about all I wanted to say about what we take for granted. I really don't want us to take anything for granted, because, like I said, some of our nearest neighbours still don't have these luxuries or these mod cons that we have. And remember that as technology moves forward, just stop and think about it. Just try and imagine, in the future, what are we going to lose from this? What are we potentially going to lose? Or ways that we can bring community back. Everybody seems to be separated off into their own little bandwagons, and we rarely talk to people who think differently than us. Whereas I think we had to get along with people back in the day. Like, my nana would have had to have gotten along with her neighbours whether she liked them or not. That didn't even matter. G'day, Woz. Nice to see you. Yeah, Carl, I love them too. Carl, the kids are helping me set up a Discord so that you guys can share photos and of your tattoos and any old photos you have of your family and that with me. So I'll probably get that going quite soon. No, I'm not. I'm still got a little bit of going. I've got some news. I even did an on this day today. There's a little bit left. I was going to have a look at the news today, and I saw about Singapore, and it says that Singapore could become one of the first countries to stop recording daily COVID case numbers in a bid to get life back to normal by treating the virus, and this is a quote, like the flu. I'm actually on board with this. I actually am thinking this is a good approach, The Southeast Asian country has recorded just 36 deaths since the start of the pandemic by implementing draconian rules to curb the infection rate, and officials now want to ditch those measures, and they don't want to be counting infection numbers every day. They just want to treat things on a symptom by symptom basis. So if you've got the flu, okay, you've got the flu. But if it turns into pneumonia or you get other symptoms, then they will treat them like they are. And I think this might be the answer to getting life to return back to a new normal. I don't think they'll ever give us back what we've lost in freedoms. I'm just saying that right now. Some of you will remember before 9/11 what airports and that were like. We never got that back. We're not going to get back what's been taken from us, but maybe we can stop them taking more. Perhaps we should be able to go and say goodbye to our dying parents. What have we become when we can't do that? It isn't having the death rates of the Spanish flu. It isn't like that. Most people will just get a normal flu. I think maybe it's time now that we've got these vaccines that we do that. I think it's a good idea too, Nicole King. I think that's the way to do it. I think so. Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Stephen Webb. It's not really great for anyone. It's not really great for victims of crime. It's also not really great for folks who are wrongly accused of things. Family court is a total freaking mess, which is doing more harm than good for everybody concerned. And it seems to just be used by people who know how to and are willing to ruthlessly screw the system. So on this day in history, it's a big day in history. In 1716, French transport the first African slaves to Louisiana. In 1844, the Young Men's Christian Association, otherwise known as the YMCA, was formed by George Williams in London. And on this day in 1944, Operation Overlord, D-Day, began as the 156,000-strong Allied Expeditionary Force landed in Normandy, France during World War II. Certainly worth remembering, and another thing we should be grateful for and not forget, because our lives could change from a huge war again. And please don't think that couldn't happen. I'm actually starting to think maybe with interest rates and that looking like they're going to go up, people should maybe go back to planting victory gardens like we used to. Even if you've only got a balcony, you can grow a little bit of food to just supplement your grocery bills. Remember, you can grow food from scraps, kitchen scraps. So I'm a big fan of victory gardens. I've never stopped, because with a big family like I had, I couldn't always afford everything I needed. So growing it yourself is a great idea. Yeah, they do stick, man. They do. And look, I don't know if I'd do any different if I was in charge. I don't know. We don't have the full perspective. But, we have a place as a community. I think it serves governments sometimes when we don't talk to our neighbours. So remember, you are part of a community wherever you live. Even if you don't get out of your house much, your neighbours around you, if shit hit the fan, they're the people who are going to be around you. So remember that. Remember that next time you see your neighbour out mowing their lawn. Okay, exactly was, and I think it was Winston Churchill who said that. It's not perfect, but it's the best system we've got, and I still believe it is. Okay, my pick for 3 folks from history to spend an evening with today are from quite recent history. Grace Gray, my great-grandmother, because I've got questions for her about what her life was like and about what her mother's life was like, and her nana. She would have known her nana. Now, what times did she live in? We're talking 1700s now. That wasn't that long ago. My number 2 would be Benjamin Dean, who is one of my ancestors. He was a free settler who came out to Australia in the 1830s, and he actually established one of the very first pubs or inns in South Australia, and it was called the Rural Deanery. There's a beautiful painting of it, I think, in the South Australian National Gallery. And it's you can go to the site. There's a plaque there that my family commissioned, and you can see the site, the original site of the rural deanery. So I would want to speak to Benjamin Dean and ask him if some of the things he was accused of, if they actually did happen. It was a bit dodgy. Okay, number 3 would be Jane Ball, who is on my mother's lineage, and she's my great-grandmother from my mother's side. She is this Nana in the photo's mother. Now, because we have traced back my father's line quite a long way, but my mother's line, like I want to know my mother's line, you know, being a mother, and I want to do it for my daughters and my granddaughters. However, can't seem to. It kind of stops really suddenly. And I'm not sure if that's because they were traveling people like gypsies or something, but we just can't seem to find any records. So I would want to speak to Jane Ball about her mother and her mother's mother, and as far back as she could remember. I've been thinking, what about, I really want to do a DNA test. What about if I do it on the channel? Would that be good? Should I do that? Find out. It's probably the most beige DNA you're ever going to see. It's probably just all British. There'd be maybe a little bit of Scandinavian or something, but it's probably going to be really boring. But I'm always curious about my mother's family because they're so not easily traced. The female line of my genetics. So I'm pretty curious. Do you reckon I should? I wanted to do it with Kaz, but Kaz was totally against doing it. He doesn't want to do a DNA test, but I actually really want to do one. I think I should. I think I should do it on the channel. Let me know what you think. Stickman, you nearly did confuse me there. Yeah, maybe I will do it. Maybe there'll be some surprises. Who knows? I don't know. I think I just look like your average English lady. I don't know. Maybe there'll be some surprises. Who knows? I'm certain there'll be some Jewish in there and things like that, but that would be interesting as well. Anyway, as always, it has been wonderful to share a smoko with you all. Like I said, I might be streaming a bit later on. Maybe not. Sometimes when I get anxious, I just want to play a game, so I may as well just stream it when I do. Please leave a thumbs up below the screen because it really helps me out and I get a gauge of what you guys like and what you don't like. Don't forget to ding my little bell for notifications so that you don't miss any impromptu streams. Don't forget to tell someone about this channel so that we can grow and we can get over that 500, because then I've got the P-plate challenge, which now I'm sorry I took up these challenges from Kaz, but I did. I made a deal. I got to stick to the deal. Thank you so much for watching. Say good day in the comments. Suggest a future subject for a video. I hope you can join me probably for a pre-recorded video tomorrow at 9:30. Have a fantastic Tuesday. Be good. Don't take things for granted. Remember, everything you do today, just think, did my great-grandparents have this luxury? And if they didn't, just take a minute to smell the roses and realize actually how good we have it. See you later, everyone. Bye.